Hey there, Lacrosse friends. Thanks for joining us once again on Lacrosse Link, your link to all things lacrosse. Remember to catch us every Thursday on LSN at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and then in the archive trays on the LSN website, also on the YouTube page for Lacrosse Link. You can catch all the episodes. Go back and check some of the ones you haven't seen before. I think they still hold up well and are very interesting to see all the guests we've had on. We're so appreciative of everyone joining us and the guests like this week. Terrific conversations with Jesse King of the Calgary Roughnecks and Rylan Hartley of the Rochester Knighthawks as we really get into the mindset of being successful as a professional athlete, especially amidst all the challenges that this COVID year has thrown at everybody throughout the realm of sports. So thank you for being with us. Thanks to Jesse and Rylan. I hope you enjoyed those interviews and stick around for the rundown at the end here on Lacrosse Link, your link to all things lacrosse.
Beautiful play, Aaron Gray. He is having himself a tournament. He made the save regardless of the crease call, and that shows he is at his acrobatic. In the middle, it just bounces off, but it's picked up and scored.
Joining me on Lacrosse Link, Jesse King of the Calgary Roughnecks. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here.
It's great to chat with you, and I'm sure you're feeling much better as a team and for yourself having won a game. I know everyone was like, wow, it seems like it's been a long time since you've even played, and of course it's been 2 months since Calgary won a game. And a lot of that had to do with cancellations and postponements, of course, for COVID, but it's still 2 months, right? It must have felt like forever since you'd really come out of a game happy.
Yeah, it definitely was something that was addressed before our last game, and also thank you for the reminder that it was 2 months. We're gonna have a short mind, obviously, coming into a weekend where we have a doubleheader. We're focused on this week now, so obviously it's always good to get a win and kind of be excited for a little bit of time. But the biggest thing for us is kind of recognizing how hard it was to get that win and how we can transfer that on moving into next week.
It seems like every game is a challenge. The league, there's so much talent in the league. There is some, division. There is some, teams kind of doing better, winning more games, teams not doing as well. But it seems like even on any given day, anything can happen. I mean, you go into this weekend, you've got a Vancouver team that has, been very up and down. They've lost Mitch Jones and actually really kind of kicked into high gear, stepping up since he's been gone. And then you've got a Panther City team that's only won one game, but they were tied at halftime with San Diego, the first place team in the division. So it seems like every game you're right, you have to be focused on. You can't be thinking about what happened last week.
Yeah, it's kind of a unique situation for our league this year. Every single week you're kind of like not sure like what each lineup's going to look like. Like I said, like 1 week you might be playing against a full team. The next week you could be playing against a team who's got some guys in the lineup that aren't generally playing, or it's their first time playing in the NLL, and they either step up for those situations or maybe they don't. But with that being said, I think that you kind of have to take this league one at a time. And especially now that you play so many games against, your own conference, all these games are so important. So if you try to jump too far ahead and look at your schedule in the future, you're not going to be focused on the closest task at hand. And that's right now for us is this Vancouver game on Friday. And, no matter what the result is, we have to, again, have that quick kind of turnaround, because we play right again on Sunday against a Fort Worth team that, we haven't played yet. We don't really know a whole ton about them. So we're going to try and focus on for Friday. Our coaches always have such a good game plan. So we have to keep in mind how much, like I said, energy and effort it took for us to beat a really solid Colorado team in my mind, and kind of feed off that. And hopefully, we're trying to go 2-0 on the weekend would be really great.
Yeah, and you talk about you can be playing teams and you just don't know who they're going to have. Will they have players out with COVID protocol? Will they have everyone in? What change will it be? Of course, you have to look at the same thing with your own team. You don't necessarily know from week to week who you're going to have, and how do you guys deal with that and deal with preparing when the same's true that you don't know who you're going to be lining up with as well as against?
Yeah, it's definitely something that's been talked about within our team. I think as a collective group, especially within our leadership group, obviously you have like our captains and assistants, but we have some guys that are on our team that have been in the league or on our team the same amount of time as I have, and we look for that to them for a lot of guidance and a lot of vibe, kind of feel for the team. And I think that we're on a better track now as far as what we need to do during the week to get prepared for these games. And then also making sure that it's everybody that's doing it, not just the guys that are going to be in the lineup, because there's these guys that are right on the bubble of playing or maybe on the practice roster that, you know, you could be playing. Like we had, you know, Carter McKenzie, who didn't play a game for the first few games, and now he's played back-to-back games all of a sudden. And, you know, he's done really well for himself, having to go out the front gate for the first game, and then, you know, going out the back gate and putting a solid performance in last week. So I think that's kind of a key example of what it's going to look like for, you know, the remainder of the season, because like you said, like each week you're not exactly sure what lineup you're going to be going into, but you just need to make sure that you're prepared physically and you're prepared mentally, looking at the coach's scout, looking at film during the week, making that time and that sacrifice to make it happen. And I think for us, that's, you know, something that is really starting to come to fruition, and you know, you really love to see it from your teammates putting in that little extra effort.
And for you personally, Jesse, it's, I mean, you went through obviously some really challenging times with some injuries. You came back, played really well when you came back, and then got injured again. You're back for, you know, the championship, but you've been in and out of the lineup a bit, and then, you know, you hit COVID, and I'd imagine you've got to be chomping at the bit to get playing as much as you can. And you know, the postponements must have been hard. But how has your preparation been compared to before, and you know, mentally as well as physically, for you to be ready to play when you've had so many interruptions in your career?
Yeah, I think it really, you fall back on that support that you have. And, you know, I've got Coach Mouse and, you know, Slip, you know, our coaches that I rely heavily on for any kind of feedback that they can offer me, as, you know, guys that I really look up to. And then again, I look at Curtis Manning, Curtis Dixon, those guys to kind of give me that guidance that I feel like I need, especially coming into a team that I'm in like technically year 3, but I've only played maybe one season of full games realistically. So, and then stepping into a leadership, this role has been, it's been different. It's been a challenge, but it's, again, I look to those guys for that guidance and what I need for them, basically mentally. So I know what I need to be saying. And each week I'm trying to get better and better. And then as far as it goes physically, you know, when I first got injured, it was something that was pretty detrimental, and I couldn't really do a whole lot. And now I feel like I'm getting to a place where I can get in a routine, without any of obviously the COVID stuff stepping in the way that kind of throws you off a little bit. But you have to kind of make your, you know, your audibles and your changes throughout the week of what you need to do. And for me, it's never really been hard to go out and train. It's something that is completely controllable by you. And I feel like it's something that is very easy to do. And I don't necessarily need to be too motivated to do it. I like to do it. So I don't have trouble with that. It's more me I feel like almost getting in my own head most of the time, talking to myself and kind of battling those self-talk battles that you have with yourself when you're on the floor. If it's, you know, am I going to say the right thing? How can I, you know, remain calm on the bench and, you know, calm our whole team down, but also like get a point across at the same time. And those are the kind of things that I find that I really need to work on. So I'm still, like I said, looking at Coach Malosky, looking at Bob McMahon and Kurt and all the other guys that you know, are leaders on our team for any kind of feedback and just instruction of how I can be better in those sense. And I think that they've done a really good job helping me out. So I'm thankful for that.
In terms of your game on the floor, I think this past weekend, the game against Colorado was such a big one. And it seemed to, from the outside, it looked like you're fine. You're fully healthy and back to yourself, given you know, we saw the outside shot goal where it was just a pure power goal. We saw some of the passing, your vision's obviously there with some of the beautiful diagonal feeds, and the last goal, the winning goal, that was such an athletic play where you get underneath and make the play on the crease. It seems like your full game is back to us. Do you feel like you're fully back and playing the way that you can?
I don't think that I'm there yet. You know, I look at the last goal and I've run it through my mind a few different times that there's probably a couple of more instances where I can make that athletic play and get underneath or be an athlete on the floor. And I'm still mentally, again, trying to battle that. I look at the floor and I'm like, okay, I don't think I can run by this guy. Whereas like I probably can. And it's a little bit frustrating, to be honest, because I'm in I'm pretty good shape and like my body feels well. And I think you're just trying to gain that confidence of, can I just drop my shoulder, run underneath, dive across the crease and try and make a goal there. So I think that last goal honestly really did help my confidence a bit. And then obviously you get the guys on the team that are pumping you up. So that helps a lot as well. But I don't think I'm there yet. I think I've got a lot of work to do, and it's less physical than you think. It's more just that self-confidence, which I haven't struggled with before. And I think that it's only something that some time is going to take and some experience on the floor, and just kind of realizing like, hey, like you're not going to like go down if you do something like this. You're not going to do this. You're not going to take a jab step to the left and your knee's going to fold underneath you. You're going to be fine. So I just need to try and get over that little bit of hump with the support of myself training at home, and the confidence that I can get from my teammates is going to be really helpful. And kind of falling into that, like I said, like a little bit of a leader on the floor and off the floor kind of piece will be really helpful for me moving forward. So I do think I still have got some work to do. Absolutely.
And the things you're talking about, that's a pretty instantaneous thing too. I mean, you can think about it all you want and try to prepare, but again, when it's on the floor, like you took off for that goal, but like you said, if you think, oh, maybe I could have gone, but if you think about it, it's too late, right? Like it's too late to go once you've had to think consciously. You need to have the instinct to be ready to go.
Yeah, that instinct piece is so huge. Like you need to be able to just see your guy, recognize his position and just go. You can't be like, oh, like, I don't know. It's already too late at that point. Like exactly what you said. And it's not really something that you even realize. Like I know for me, like I didn't even realize it either. Like I just did it. And I was like, afterwards, I was like, oh, like, how come I've literally told myself, like, how come I haven't tried to do this before? And like, now I'm watching film of the game and I'm seeing the same position that I'm in like 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, oh, why didn't I do this? Or why didn't I do that? I can do that. You need to get there mentally. And it's tough. It's not easy. It's something that you kind of just have to, almost like getting over a fear. So it'll be a work in progress moving forward, but I feel confident with, like I said, with the support that I have.
Well, there clearly is progress being made from our perspective, so it's great to see, and certainly hope you get that confidence back and feel comfortable. And really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show, and looking forward to seeing how things go down the season for you.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on here. This was great. Thanks again.
Okay, joining me, the goaltender from the Rochester Knighthawks, Rylan Hartley, coming in from Orangeville, I believe. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tamper. I appreciate having me.
It's great to talk with you, and it's such an interesting, I think one of the things for a young goaltender coming into the league is such an interesting process, because traditionally goalies have taken a while to really mature, really find their game. But it seems like there are more young goalies like yourself who are coming in and getting a chance to play. But for you, it's been a little different, even because you had a veteran. You had Evan Kirk as your partner, and he played a couple of games, and you've talked about how much you've learned from Evan in that time. But then all of a sudden, it just didn't work out that he could play anymore. And you've been kind of thrust into a starting role. And I think it's interesting because I know you're a competitive guy, you're a terrific young athlete, and I know you want to be a starter. I know you want to play. You want to be the guy. But is it a little different when you're just kind of thrown in and partway into a season without kind of a safety net of a veteran around you?
I wouldn't really. I don't feel that it's being thrown in. I've been having great people around me that have supported me, and I've had guys that my dad at home, and my dad's always kept that in my mind ever since I was a kid. He was always, "What's next? What's next? Where do you want to be?" And playing in the NLL in the first couple of years, and he's always reminded me of what my goal is, right? And that next step, and keep that in the back of your mind when you're at home, you're eating right, or you're working out, or at practice, you're practicing like you play. And with Kirky was a great person to have, even the short time frame that we had him, because when Kirky came in, he was right off the bat, he was there to basically, he's like, "I'm going to show you the ropes and how to go about it." And carpooled with Kirky a few times, and the way that he broke the game down and the way he carried himself was a good mentor to have. And after Kirky ended up leaving, he gave me the heads up, and he wanted to speak with me in his driveway. And so I spoke with Kirky for a little bit, and he reminded me of what I stood for, and saying, like, why not me? And that, people think, sometimes that might be a bit smaller, or, I might move around too much. And he ended up reminding me, screw what people think, just do what you do, and play with confidence, and play the way that I've always played. And keeping that in the back of my mind, it definitely helps me play the game, like it's got me here, and keep rolling with it. And another guy that deserves a lot of recognition is Joel Watson on our bench. You go to get a water, and he's always, "Keep going, Ralphie, keep going." He's like, "Shake it off, next one," or, something that he's seeing, he'll let me know. And I think that everyone around me right now in the time of life is pushing me in the right direction, and is going to bring me to where I want to be.
I think Joel's an interesting guy to bring up because he hasn't really had a lot of chances to be the guy. Even, in junior, he was with I guess with Brett Dobson, so he was, splitting time, and he's always been a good goalie. I think a few people may have been surprised that he's stuck now at this point in his career with an NLL team, and he's in there on a regular basis. But the one thing about Joel, I used to see him, I'd go and call Arena Lacrosse League games, and he played in the Arena League for a bit, and I would see him at the rink and be like, "Joel, I didn't think you were playing today." And he says, "No, but I'm close. I'm coming to watch lacrosse." And he is a lacrosse junkie. He is a gym rat. He loves being there, and he watches tons of lacrosse, and he thinks the game, right? So it's interesting that you say, he's there to help you out, because to me, he'd be a guy who would be great in that role of being able to talk about it, because he's so invested in the sport.
And the guys love Joel too. Joel's a great guy to have in the room, going out after, or, just at practice. He's good for a laugh, and he's got a good sense of humor, and we love Joel, and it's good to have him there.
Kind of an understated sense of humor, right? Like I found when I got to know him, it took a bit to be like, "Oh, that was a joke, and that was really funny."
No, he's really funny. I think he's a funny guy. He definitely makes my cheeks hurt by the end of the night, getting a good laugh.
I'm curious about also the development of your defense, and yourself working with them, because it takes a while to develop defensive chemistry. And, you've got a lot of young guys on the team as a, a recent expansion team. There is a lot of youth. You're gradually building towards something. And even the veterans on the team, a lot of them are guys who have come in, like a Dan Coates and a Matt Gilray, and guys who have been added to the club, John Wagner. And, there's going to be challenges. It's going to take, it feels like, going through some things to get to where you want to be as a group. And I'm curious how that process is going, because I feel like watching, you can see the progress coming along, and you can see things working. And you can also see sometimes where you're probably going to go have a discussion. You're all going to say, "Hey, this didn't really work. Let's try working on this." How's it going from your perspective?
So having the veterans on our team in the back end, like Coatsy, Paulie Dawes, and then I see Reeser as a veteran, the way he speaks and the way he knows the game. We're there. The guys we're figuring it out. We're working hard at practice. We're just having our ups and downs, right? And sometimes you're a little bit longer in the down than you are in the up, and obviously you don't want to be that way. But this team that we have here, once it clicks and all the stars align, it's going to be a team that's going to be to beat. And when Kirky was here, Kirky was giving his 2 cents, and he's a very, very smart guy. And so when he was there, I was trying to pick up on what he sees. And, guys are always bouncing ideas off each other, and we're getting better every practice, every game. We're getting 1% better, but obviously we're not there yet to be where we want to be. But even Patty O'Toole, right? We're doing our Zoom calls and we're doing our game film, and we're going over it and what we can improve on. And those little things, are going to add to those big things. And with time, it's going to come. And I wish it was sooner, but it's going to come.
Patience is so important, and just like you said, just continuing to put in the work, practice by practice and game by game, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. The other, I think, interesting thing for you, and there's been a lot made of the goalie fight earlier in the year where you went and swung with Ethan Woods, and it was fun for everyone to kind of latch on. It got some attention to the sport and things, but to me, that kind of overshadowed how well you've been playing as a young goalie, getting your first chance to play lots of minutes. And I think, you've had some great stretches, and you kind of mentioned there's ups and downs for the team. And I think for yourself, you've seen stretches where I'm sure you've given up a few goals you'd like to have back. But to me, there's been such progress in your game towards being able to play at the NLL level to the same level of play as you're a great junior goalie. And it seems like you're really progressing to that level of confidence and comfort at the pro level as well. Do you feel like that, I guess, distracted a bit from that from the outside? And how do you feel about the way your game is coming together?
So like when you're taking the step from, obviously I came from junior, and then the COVID year of senior, we didn't have the players that are the top dogs of that league playing in there. So to do that jump is a lot more difficult, because you have all guys on offense are going to be able to score at any time, any space. Those guys can put it in the net, and that's what they're there for. But for myself, trying to get rid of those lows and being in full 60 minutes, that's something that I'm dedicating myself to, right? I got to be there because the guys are always there for me. So what I ultimately think that goaltending comes down to is confidence. It's a mind game, really. It's how well you can battle 1, 2, 3 that go in and rebound from that and keep your head in the whole time, and not any distractions coming. And that's always been the biggest part for me in my game is it's a mental game, and telling yourself you can do it and being there, putting those hours in, and that's what it is for me. And I know that once I get that full confidence, and I feel that that we're on a roll here, that I know that we're going to be an unbeatable team.
It feels like it's close, right? Like, do you feel that? Like, I know you said, well, you'd like the progress to be faster than it's been, or everybody wants to get better, faster than it takes. But it seems from the outside like there's some little steps that are you're getting there, and it's not that far off.
Yeah, like we're getting there, obviously, but with time.
Yeah. Well, you have time. Definitely looking forward to watching how that progress goes for you and for the Knighthawks. Appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. And good luck going forward in the season. Looking forward to seeing you play.
Thanks, Amber. I appreciate it.
Hi, this is Jaden with Al Anderson Source for Sports. Excited to tell you that we got all our new lacrosse product in for this upcoming season. Whether you're playing box or field, our lacrosse experts are going to make sure we get you into the right equipment to elevate your game. At Al Anderson Source for Sports, we know our stuff.
All right, lacrosse friends, hope you enjoyed those terrific interviews with Rylan, Hartley, and with Jesse King. Both really interesting guys, as you can see, and I really had fun diving a bit deeper into the mental side, I think, of playing lacrosse, any professional sport at such a high level. So hope you enjoyed them too. Now we get to some of the news from around the world of lacrosse. We start with upset weekend in the NCAA. There was one huge huge upset. Jacksonville stunning Duke 14-12, and Duke had been ranked third in the nation. Jacksonville, that is the biggest win for their program history. A real up-and-coming program, but fairly new still, so pretty big deal for them. And also, we saw Virginia almost falling as High Point really pushed them to the very brink, and Virginia is the now former #1, but they've been top team in the country, so huge goings on in the NCAA. And of course, on the women's side, Charlotte North and Boston College were not upset, and we're not really pressed to be upset. Charlotte puts up a ton of goals once again. What an amazing athlete. I will say it again, best college lacrosse player in the world, men, women, whatever. She's the best, and if you get a chance to watch her play, take it. She is really something special. Not so special, not a great situation for the Howard women's team as they went to play at Presbyterian in South Carolina. And you may have seen some news about this, but if not, basically Karen Healy-Silcott was talking about how her team was the subject of threats and taunts and racist and sexist and just disgusting calls from a bunch of young men on a hillside outside the stadium as they went in, and she basically tried to just prepare her team to just push that aside, play the game. They had another game that weekend, but they've been dealing with that, and it was disgusting to read about it. Terry Foy did a story about it on Inside Lacrosse. You can read some more about it. To me, the really disturbing thing was when she was talking about it, and she said, somebody said, "Oh, this must be so hard to deal with," and she said, "Well, it is, but honestly, it's what happens." And that's so disturbing that a team of primarily women of color, young women of color, is dealing with the kind of things, and guys talking about getting their guns and their ammo and really seriously threatening these people. And it's appalling, and Presbyterian has said they're going to look into it. I really hope something comes of that. I really hope they take that seriously, because that has no place in the game of lacrosse. And for the Howard women's team, we're here with you. We stand behind you, Lacrosse Link, and I'm sure everyone else in the game that are good people stand behind you. So carry on, and we hope that you're able to move forward from that. In the National Lacrosse League, we're going to talk about that a bit now. The Buffalo Bandits lose for the first time this season. They fall to the Toronto Rock. Never a surprise to see Toronto beating Buffalo or vice versa. Great rivalry, but when a team's undefeated, you start to get this sense like, are they ever going to lose? And Buffalo looks so good, but boy, it's hard to go 18-0. And it probably wasn't going to happen, but Buffalo does fall from ranking undefeated. At the other end of the spectrum, Calgary had not been winning, as we talked about. Jesse King saying thanks for the reminder that we hadn't won for 2 months. Postponement's a big part of that, but the Roughnecks get their first win since December the 11th. So huge for them as they move forward to a 2-game weekend coming up, and they're going to need to keep that momentum going because it's so challenging looking for those playoff spots. It's much harder to make the playoffs with more teams coming into the league. It's really a building challenge. Now, one underappreciated player in the National Lacrosse League that I want to talk about is Greg Downing. Last weekend, he became the 6th player in National Lacrosse League history to be credited with 200 caused turnovers. The other 5 are pretty much household names on defense. Kyle Rubish, Brody Merrill, Ryan Dilks, Chris Corbeil, Steve Priolo. All 5 have won Defensive Player of the Year or Transition Player of the Year awards, or have been multi-time finalists for one or both of those awards. And I feel like Downing has been left out of that conversation. And he actually has more than 200 caused turnovers because the first couple seasons of his career, they didn't yet keep track. They only started in 2011. He played a couple years before that. So he's got over 200. And he is, I think, really has been one of the best defenders in the league for quite a while. Never seems to get mentioned in that conversation. It's more like if you ask for the best defenders, people will mention lots of other guys, and then you bring up Downing and people say, oh yeah, he's really good too. I think he deserves to be in that conversation. I honestly think when we look back at his career, we're going to be considering, is this guy a Hall of Fame NLL player? And I think the answer may be yes. I'd want to take a bit more of a look and really consider it, and see who the rest of the competition in his induction classes, potential induction classes are. But great to see him, a great guy, and just one of the unsung heroes in the NLL. Nice to see him hitting a big milestone. I hope he gets a lot of credit for it. And finally, we're going to talk a little bit about the Arena Lacrosse League, guys coming from the Arena Lacrosse League, as Panther City Lacrosse Club has signed 2 leading ALL scorers to their active roster. One is Dean Farrell of the Shooting Eagles in the ALL West, the new league. They've played a good chunk of their season, and he is leading the league in goals and second in points. As we record this, he's a lefty forward, very talented, and has made some amazing plays for them this year. Cam Milligan is a righty. He plays for the Whitby Steelhawks. In 2020, he was 3rd in assists, 4th in points in the ALL East. He's 7th in scoring right now, but 3 of the guys who are ahead of him have played 3 games. He's just played 2, as the ALL East is just getting rolling. But it's interesting to see. It is often the case, if teams are looking for someone, they need someone, they are looking at the Arena League, and it's pretty cool to see a guy from the West and a guy from the East. They're going to come and meet in the middle, pretty much the middle of the continent in Fort Worth, and have a chance to prove themselves with Panther City Lacrosse Club. So I think that's just an interesting little tidbit as we move forward into the next week, week 12 coming up of the National Lacrosse League season. Thanks so much for being with us, lacrosse friends. As always, here at Lacrosse Link, your link to all things lacrosse. We'll see you again next week, 8 p.m. every Thursday on Lacrosse Sports Network, in the archives on LSN, and on the Lacrosse Link YouTube page. Thanks for being with us. See you next week.